Well, hey friends, and welcome back. Today, I want to take you along as we declutter and organize my kitchen. This is something that I haven't done in well over a year. There are definitely some places where I'm beginning to notice clutter creeping back in and spots that are just a bit messy. But today, I want to change all of that, and my goal is just to hit the reset button in this room. So I want to begin with decluttering what we no longer need. The kitchen is the heart of the home. It's a very high traffic area. So I really tried to put an emphasis on utility when it comes to deciding what I want to keep versus what I want to declutter in this room. But then once we've done that, I really want to spend some time organizing what's left over to make sure that we have some functional systems in place. And I want to go through our entire kitchen today, including our fridge and pantry, but then also too, I really want to focus my attention on a few problem spots I've identified. And specifically, those areas are the cabinet where we keep all of our entertaining supplies, my tea cupboard, the area under the sink, the cupboard where I store our food storage containers, our pantry, and what I'm going to call our paper clutter drawer. And honestly, that's a bit of an embarrassing one for me, but we'll talk more about it when we get to it. So that's the plan, but now it's time to get started, and I want to begin with going through our island. So we're just going to go drawer by drawer, cabinet by cabinet, and spend some time first decluttering and then organizing each one. The first cabinet that I decided to tackle was the one containing all of our entertainment supplies. And I started with just trying to remove anything that we no longer needed, any excess packaging, tried to group like items together. Okay, so we've decluttered a lot from this cabinet already. Now it's time to organize it. And as I was looking at this space, one of the biggest problems I identified was just the fact that we have a lot of entertaining supplies in here and they just kind of get all jumbled up together. And so I figured one perfect solution that would be great, not just for storing the items, but also for when we had guests over, would be to use a utensils caddy with separate slots for each of the items we had. So this is the one that I picked out. I love that it has a little handle on it, so it'll be easy to carry around. But essentially what I want to do right now is just to fill it up with our forks, spoons, knives, and I don't think we have any plates at the moment, but I'll probably put some bowls in here. And I really think that this will go a long ways towards making sure that this cabinet stays organized going forward. And this utensils holder really did just instantly make a difference. I was able to condense 3 different boxes into one. It's going to make entertaining really easy going forward. But then once I finished with our entertainment cabinet, I just did a quick pass through the rest of the ones in the island. Okay, so in our cutlery drawer, what I want to do right now is a bit of decluttering and replacing. We've had the same cutlery set ever since Christopher and I first got married well over 6 years ago now, and even back then, we kind of had this idea in our heads of, okay, this is only going to be a temporary set, they aren't great quality, and so we knew that we wanted to replace them down the line. Well, fast forward 6 years, and replacing our cutlery was something that we just kept putting off until a couple weeks ago when I finally decided it was time to invest in some good cutlery. So after doing a lot of research, I decided to get this set from Fortessa. They're great quality, they look beautiful, and my hope is that they can last us for years to come. So right now I want to swap out all of the utensils in this drawer. We'll give the organizer a good wipe down, and then we'll put in our new set. And then with the old cutlery set, we're not going to be keeping them because I'm a big believer in the 1 in, 1 out policy. I'm probably going to try passing them on to a friend or family member. Christopher and I both have younger siblings who are in the process of moving out on their own right now, so it really could make a great gift for one of them. Of course, if they don't want the utensils though, we'll just donate them. With our cutlery drawer, I just began by removing all of the cutlery and wiping it down before putting in the new set. And while I swapped them out, I also took the opportunity to declutter a few other miscellaneous items from this drawer. I decided to let go of a few serving utensils and glass straws that we weren't really using. Then next, I spent a few minutes tidying up our junk drawer. It didn't need too much organization since I did just go and redo the entire organization system a few months ago, but I was able to remove a few things that had kind of snuck in there that didn't belong, as well as declutter a few items. Okay, well, we've officially made it now to what I like to call our paper clutter drawer. This is really where mail goes to die. Usually I'm pretty good about just immediately recycling anything that I know isn't important, but then for things that I want to take action on or that I know that I want to look at later, they'll often end up going in this drawer and then staying there until long past when they're relevant. So I know that's a pretty big component of what's in this drawer, and there's also a lot that needs to be shredded in here. We don't actually own a shredder, so I actually just texted a couple of family members and friends to see if they have one that we might be able to borrow. So between shredding and recycling what we no longer need, this drawer should be looking a million times better very soon. And sorting out this drawer actually ended up being pretty easy, and afterwards I just turned my attention to our tea cabinet. And this is one area where I feel like I've just progressively been figuring out over time how best to organize. Each time I go in and organize it, I feel like it gets a little bit better, but I just started by emptying everything out and wiping it down. The biggest change that I wanted to make this time was to use a basket to contain some of the larger appliances that I use to make both tea and coffee. I was finding that they were the main source of some of the disorganization that I was seeing in the cabinet, and so I figured that by grouping them together, it would really help just to reduce the visual clutter. Then I also recently ordered a few new teas as well as ran out of some others, so I went in and just organized the back stock that I have for my tea collection. Then last but not least, for my tea collection, I went in and refilled some of the ones that were running out. And then for the new tea that I recently ordered, I used an old empty jar, created a new label, and filled it up with the new pumpkin chai tea, and then added it to my tea collection. Okay, I'm just loving how this tea cabinet is looking. This has definitely been something that I've been on a journey with ever since we first moved into this house. I feel like every time I've gone in and organized it, it's gotten progressively better. Earlier this year, when I came up with the labeling system for all of my different tea containers, that made a huge difference. And again, this time, I really do think that just having those two bins, one for my tea backstock and one now for all of my tea appliances and coffee appliances, really does help just to contain everything so well. I really do think that this will be a perfect solution that's going to help me to be able to keep everything here orderly and tidy while still making everything easy to access. So I'm very happy with how this turned out, but now let's turn our attention to the area underneath the kitchen sink. This basket filled with cleaning supplies is one of the more frequently used items in our kitchen, and as such, it does tend to get a bit messy, so it's always nice just to take the opportunity to reset it. But then afterwards, I just spent a bit of time looking through a few of the other cabinets in our kitchen and spent a few minutes resetting our utensils drawer. Okay, time for another quick declutter and swap. I'm going to be decluttering and getting rid of these two kitchen towels. Not only are they pretty worn out, they have so many snags in them, but there's also several stains, which no amount of washing at this point can get out, so I think it's time to move on from them. And so to replace them, I bought these two plaid kitchen towels. I really love the coloring on them, and I think that the texture feels like it's going to be really absorbent. It's always the number one thing that I look for in a good kitchen towel, so I have hope for these. And my plan is essentially just to rotate these two out. So I'm going to put this one on the oven, and then when it gets dirty, we'll wash it and replace it with this one. And in the meantime, this one can live with our other kitchen linens. Once I'd swapped out our kitchen towels, I decided to tackle our linens drawer next. It had definitely just had a few things creep in there that we really didn't need and weren't using. So I just wanted to eliminate some of the excess so that we could keep things simple. Then after that, I again just checked through some of the other drawers that we had to see if there was anything that we didn't need. Something that was also bugging me was that all of my spices were crooked, so I just took a second to straighten them out. And then after that, I went through the cabinet that contains all of my servingware, and there were a few things that I decided to declutter and let go of. Then also too, there were a few things that just weren't easy to reach for, so I just tried to shift things around in a way that would make what I needed more accessible. Then I just went and did the exact same thing with the adjoining cabinet. Earlier this year, we invested in a matching set of food storage containers, which we've absolutely loved. However, the one problem that I've discovered when it comes to this cupboard is that they have a tendency of just spreading out and becoming a bit messy. Sure, they all may be uniform now and look good together, but they kind of spread out in this area and it starts to get pretty messy. So one easy storage solution that I came up with for this cupboard was to use these two open acrylic bins that would be really easy to reach into to grab what we need out of, but that we could use to better contain our lids and the storage containers themselves. So let's go ahead and put these in now. I really think that they're going to help. So here's what they look like in place. I love how this really does kind of reduce visual clutter. It's going to make it so much easier to find exactly what we need, to have access to it. I think this is just going to be a really practical solution. All right, well, we are on to the final two areas that we have left in our kitchen to declutter and to organize. That's our fridge and pantry. And we've been making some great progress so far. We've already decluttered so much, and I just love some of the organization systems and solutions that we've put into place. So now let's finish this strong and end on a high note. And I had literally just gone grocery shopping the other day, so when I filmed this, both our fridge and our pantry were pretty full of food, but in as much as I could, I just went in and checked the expiration dates on food, I checked for duplicates, and then for any areas where kind of excess tends to accumulate, I tried to focus on those as well. And as you can probably tell, the floor in our pantry was an area that I really tried to pay some special attention to. It's often the area of our pantry that gets the most neglected and tends to accumulate a lot of backstock. So I went in and did my best to tidy things up, and then where possible, I also decanted a few things as well. Then for the rest of our pantry, I just spent a few minutes trying to tidy up and organize it. I think I was in a bit of a rush when I came home from grocery shopping, so there were a lot of things in here that just hadn't been put away properly. All right, well, we made it to the end, and I am absolutely loving the way that our kitchen looks now. All the cupboards and drawers are just looking so much more neat, tidy, streamlined, and organized, and I really think that it's going to make our kitchen a much more functional space. And can I just say, I'm pretty impressed with how much we're decluttering. Let me flip you around and show you. All right, well, here's everything we're going to be decluttering. We have everything from glasses and cutlery to kitchen linens to recipes, to food storage containers, and so much more. So I really am just so excited with how this turned out, and it's giving me all kinds of motivation to start cooking. But that's going to be everything from me for this video. Now I need to figure out what we're going to be donating versus recycling versus throwing out. But I really hope that this gave you some inspiration to maybe go and to declutter and to organize your own kitchen. As always though, don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time friends, I hope you have an amazing day.